author of The Case for Christian Nationalism. Please give a warm welcome to Stephen Wolfe.
Well, it's an honor. It truly is an honor to be here. When I was asked to speak like 20 minutes ago, I thought, yeah, I'd love to speak. That'd be great. And then I heard I was following William Wolfe, and I about said no. I can't follow William Wolfe, but again, I appreciate it's an honor to be here as a guest. So I live in North Carolina, and I'm here in Texas for a few days, and part of what I'm doing is meeting people like you. Really what I am is I'm a philosopher. I'm not a politician. I'm not an expert in Christian activism or party politics or any of those sorts of things. I'm a philosopher, and that's what I do. I try to write philosophy, the abstract stuff. And apparently, as I talk to some people here, that has actually made a difference. And that's in 2022, I was finishing up my book, Case for Christian Nationalism, and I got to the end. So this is after, if you made it all the way through, that's about 400 pages of political theory, theology, quotes from guys who've been dead for centuries. And when I finished that last chapter, I thought, well, the people reading this who got through it are going to want to know, okay, what do you do now? There's all this abstract stuff, principles, ends, means, but what do we actually do on the ground? And I have to admit that I did not know. I didn't know. I was stuck, and partly I was tired of writing. But the other part was I just didn't know because I didn't have the experience. I had spent years reading the great books and the great philosophers, and I didn't know what to do. At the time, I was kind of isolated. Of course, I had friends, but I didn't have friends like I do now, which is extended across the country, doing politics like what you guys are doing. I was isolated. I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought the book was going to come out, it's going to make a splash in one or two denominations, and then it was going to be forgotten. And by God's grace, that has not happened. But I felt isolated. But over time, I came to learn that there are people like yourselves actually on the ground doing the work of politics. It's the very thing that I wanted to have happen. You read the very first paragraph of the epilogue of the book. I say that there are some people who are the philosophers, some people are the foot soldiers, some people are the strategists, some people are the planners. Everyone doing something within their wheelhouse. Everything doing things, different things, but as one. United, unified, acting for the good. We need philosophy, we also need people on the ground. And you guys are doing that. And the honor of being here and seeing those resolutions, it's incredible. It really is. I like to say I'm just a guy who lives out in the woods. And when I come down here to a big city like Dallas and meet all you guys, it's just incredible. One of the things that I was trying to do in the book, part of my work, is to reconcile a universal religion, Christianity is for all, with a particular people. There's a tendency in Christian political thought in the modern world to think of, hey, we have a universal religion, so everything should be universal. Our nation should be just a nation of anyone and everyone, a nation of humanity, or simply just people who are Christians. And I wanted to say, no, actually, you can have a nation of a distinct way of life, of distinct people, with a distinct history and heritage, and those things are actually something you can reconcile. So that, and from what I pick up, and from what I can pick up, you guys affirm those things. You affirm both the universal faith that is for all, and yet also you guys strive for your people and your country to maintain the way of life. What I want in the end, as I've said many times, is I want my children to live in a Christian nation. That is what I want. There's many young people here. I'm assuming many of you do not have children, and some of you do. Things change a bit when you have children, as you probably heard. A lot of things. Sometimes something doesn't change. We still think in terms of the abstraction. We think in terms of tax rates. We think in terms of the sacred identities that we're told to care about the most. But you know what I spend most of my day doing with my kids? Or what I think about most? And what probably you as a parent think about most, is how do I protect my kids from the degeneracy that is everywhere? You spend most of your time doing that. And that should be our focus. Our focus should not be on the concerns of a ruling class that cares about particular, very specific, narrow interests in people, or cares about, low tax rates or something like that, or low taxes. But I don't want to live in a country of low taxes where my children are subjected to degeneracy and they're treated and become second-class citizens in their own country.
That's right.
I don't want to have... One of my messages has been, you need to think about what do you actively do? Why is it that in many places you have to check out what the Boy Scouts of America, what is it called? Boy Girls, whatever it is. You have to see, is this chapter of Boy Scouts, is this going to be good or bad for my children? That should not be. You shouldn't think of, hey, we need to start another organization, called Trail Life because Boy Scouts has messed up. That shouldn't be. We shouldn't have to actively look over our shoulder at a cartoon that you knew in the 90s was a family-friendly cartoon to see what that commercial is now showing your children. You should not have to do that. You should not have to do all sorts of things because our government, our society should suppress degeneracy and evil. And those are the things we should care about. Low tax rates, low tax rates do nothing for my children if they can't get a good job. If they are priced out of a trade because of immigration, right? If they're priced out because they can't have a family, they can't have a house, because they can't charge the prices because of undercut prices due to immigration. The same thing with the white collar jobs as well. It should not be the case that people who are extremely ethnocentric and nepotistic can take over industry and exclude graduates in a certain degree. Yes. And so that is what I care about. So I know you guys agree with me. I'm preaching to the choir here. But I think one of the winning messages we can have for our new friends is to say, look, what do you do to protect your kids? Why isn't that your central concern? Why isn't that what you're fighting to suppress and destroy? That's what we should be doing. The other thing we need to focus on is ownership of space. That is, this is our country. It is not a country for abstract humanity. It is not a country for any or all religion. It is a Christian country for a particular Christian people. That is how we have to change our mindset. For years, all I heard growing up, I grew up in the 90s, early 2000s, those were my formative years. They were deformed. I was ill-informed for a lot of it, because there was nothing else. You guys don't realize, some of you young guys don't realize. Like in the 90s and early 2000s, the only game in town was neocon talk radio and Fox News. What you have right now is actually really special, and embrace it and utilize it.
So true.
Yeah, but what you're told at those times is, again, abstract humanity. That's what this place is for. But we have to change the mentality. We have to change our minds on that and say, no, this is ours, which means it's not theirs, and we have to fight to secure that. One thing is, I want to, on a virtuous note, I guess, is loyalty. There has to be, you guys are in this room, I didn't see any debate over the resolutions or that proposed amendment. There's unity here. Everyone said aye, no nays. And that is wonderful. Unity is a great thing. But we know as time goes on, things change. People change, individuals get older. For whatever reason, they change their views, or whatever their tensions, their conflicts. I would just emphasize that loyalty is key. That is loyalty to your friends, even if your friend fails you. Establishing an ethos of loyalty, even to friends who have failed you, is the right ethos. Now, there might be times where you have to do something different, but that should be your general principle. Sometimes your friends leave you, sometimes they might even try to stab you in the back. But in general, it's important to maintain that ethos of loyalty so the people who remain can trust each other. If you don't have trust, you're going to fail. Very, very important to do that. I'll just leave it with this, is that I have nowhere else to go. I'm an American. There's no other country that I want to be in. There's no other country that probably would take me. And so, I want this country to succeed. I want to fight for this country. I want to be in, when I'm in a foxhole, I'm going to be next to people who don't have anywhere else to go. They can't flee. They can't go back to their ancestral lands, because this is my ancestral land. This is my native land. I'm a Native American. The last thing you realize, and you guys know this, Christ is King. I talk about a nation of particular people, but there's no point to having a nation if it doesn't honor the actual King of nations, and that is Christ.
Come on.
And that should be reflected not only in your life, not only in your family's life, not only in this organization. It should be reflected in the state, in your county, and in the nation itself. That is our principal end. It's not the only end, it's not the only thing we fight for, but that is the principal end of our actions in politics, is that our nation will honor Christ. Thank you.